Everyone, today I'm going to demonstrate how easy it is to make fermented vegetables, which is a beautiful way to get naturally sourced probiotics into your diet, and there's a huge amount of benefit you can get from that. So rather than just taking probiotics as a supplement, this is how nature intended it, and it's a wonderful way to get all the health benefits of probiotics without having to take anything, and I think they're delicious as well. So today I'm going to show you a special type of sauerkraut, you might call it, but really it's just fermented vegetables. So you can use any vegetables, but today I've picked half a cabbage, a quarter of a red cabbage, 1 carrot, celery, and then I've just got another leaf here to put on top. I'll show you what I mean by that in a minute. And I've also got some ginger just for a little bit of extra flavour. So I'm going to chop these all now using my slicer and my little shredder, and I'm going to put them all in this big metal dish here, and then I'll show you what to do next. Okay, so now I've used my slicer to slice the cabbage, the carrot, the red cabbage, the celery and my ginger into fairly uniform pieces like that, and I've weighed it and it's about 1.5 kilos. And usually what you're going to do is add 1 to 2% salt. I use Himalayan salt, this one here, which is a really good salt. But you can use sea salt or something like that as well. So I'm actually using about 15 grams of salt today, so I'm going for 1%. It just seems to work well when I use about that much. Just bear in mind that you can use any vegetables you want, but it does tend to work well if you use cabbage as the base, as in sauerkraut. But the variety you use, the different flavour you'll get out of it. So if you just do cabbage, it'll end up tasting like sauerkraut. If you start adding different things like we've done today, you'll get a different flavour dynamic, and experiment, because you might find some really great combinations with different herbs and spices and just different vegetables. So I've gone for carrot today to get some sweetness in there, some ginger to give it a bit of a kick. Celery is pretty much just for liquid and water content, and like I said, the cabbage is kind of the base. So the next step is to add your salt, and I've washed my hands thoroughly and rinsed them really well and dried them, because the next step is all about your hands. Alright, so you start scrunching. And what I'm doing with this is I'm trying to extract the water content out of my veggies. And I'll probably end up doing this for about 10 to 15 minutes until there's a beautiful liquidy brine at the bottom of my bowl. You know when you're done because no more water seems to be coming out, but there's a good amount of water in there. And then at that point you're ready to pack it into your jar. And I learnt this from the Holistic Lifestyler, who's a friend and colleague of mine in Western Australia. He's the guru on this. If you want to learn any more, check out his Facebook page, check out his blog, and you can learn heaps about this. I've only just started doing this and I'm loving it. And as you can see, I'm not actually using any starter culture or whey. You certainly can. It's just not my choice. I just want to go with nature. This is how people used to do it for thousands of years, millions of years probably. So I think nature's the best, so that's the way I'm doing it today. Okay, so we've been lovingly massaging our veggies for only about 5 minutes today. A lot of water came out easily. And as you can see, what we started with is now shrunk right down. And you can also see that there's a lot of brine down the bottom there. And if I squeeze them, that's how much liquid comes out. Beautiful purple colour on this one. So that's ready to go. The next step is to start carefully placing it into our jar. Now there's a lot of choices with jars. Usually I go a nice clear jar so you can actually see, but now the clear jar is taken up with another batch at the moment. So I'm packing it into this one here. So what you actually do is you get your fist, you want something you can actually fit your hand in, get your fist and push down to get all of the air out. This is a really important step because air is the enemy of fermentation, this kind of fermentation. So I'm pushing it down, bringing all the brine to the top and getting rid of all the air. as you can see. So as you can see in there, it's as I push down, it brings even more of the liquid to the top. So I'm going to keep packing. And when I finish packing, I'm going to put one extra cabbage leaf that I saved over the top so that it holds down all the veggies submerged under the water. And then we're going to put a weight on top of it so that we don't get any rogue bits of veggies coming to the top. Now the last batch I did, I checked it at 7 days and tasted it at 7 days to see how it was. And it was a young batch, but it tasted good enough, so we started eating that one at 7 days. I left another batch for about 2.5 weeks, and at 2.5 weeks it was even more sour. So depending on how you like it, just continue to taste it as time goes on, for preference basically. Make sure you keep it somewhere with a consistent temperature. Don't put it somewhere where it fluctuates between hot and cold. So we keep ours under the stairs, which always remains a nice cool temperature. Kind of like how you'd store wine in a cellar or cheese in a cellar, that sort of thing. So I'm just going to push down here for another few minutes to get rid of all my air. So it's all submerged in liquid. Like I said, it's a really liquidy blend this time, and I didn't need to add any. Sometimes if you use veggies that don't have a lot of water content, you can add extra water. Make sure it's fresh, filtered, clean, pure water. The quality of the ingredients you use is really important. So this morning we went to the market and got a whole bunch of veggies that were freshly chopped and freshly cut from the market garden yesterday. So it's the freshest possible stuff, apart from growing your own and getting your own. If you've got that, even better. I don't at the moment, so we use market fresh stuff. I've got a lot of liquid there. So just have a look here, see just how much water is there. You can see that it's basically all liquid, and as I push down, that's how far my hand goes into actually touching the veggies. So I'm getting all of that air out. Okay, that's plenty. Now I'm going to take my cabbage leaf. I'm just going to make it into a bit of a shape that approximately fits in there. Place it in over the top like that, so it's sitting on top of the veggies to keep them down and make the water on top, like that. What you need to do now, just as a final step, is to use some sort of weight to hold down that cabbage leaf. I've just used a little ramekin filled with water, so I'm going to place that on top. Just carefully lower that in. Push it down and hold it against there, and then basically just clean up the rim so there's not the excess veggies around the edge. Like I said, there's lots of different jars you can use, as long as it's something that doesn't allow oxygen to come in, and something with a nice wide mouth so you can get your hands in there, preferably clear so you can monitor it over the days and weeks, because it does change colour. It goes from a sort of a fresh colour more to it starts to go slightly more brown. But to know how it actually is, you taste it. So I'm going to taste this one in 7 days, see how it is, and then probably end up leaving it maybe for around 2 weeks. Most of them are saying now these days that you need around about 30 days. I guess it depends on the veggies you use, how much naturally occurring bacteria are on those veggies, and your conditions. What's the temperature you're in, how much oxygen did you leave in there, how much salt you used, all of those kind of things. So there's lots of variables that will change it, and the kind of container you use. There's some fancy ones out now that have an airlock, so you don't need to do anything with it. A one-way valve, air will come out of it one way but not allow air in. This is the simplest way to do it, just a standard jar like that. That's going to go under the stairs now and leave it for a week, and then we'll taste.